Welcome to today's 1 Million by 1 Million Strategy Roundtable for Entrepreneurs. 1M1M, as you know, is the first global virtual accelerator in the world. Our mission is to help 1 million entrepreneurs reach $1 million and beyond in annual revenue, build $1 trillion in global GDP and 10 million jobs. And in support of that mission, we do these free mentoring roundtables every week. 297 sessions today. It's been going on for a while, and the event is being recorded. You will have the recording available after the session. If you're live tweeting the show today, please use hashtag 1M1M and join us on Twitter at 1M by 1M or at Romana. We publish a lot of quality content, rich quality content through all our channels. The 1M1M Roundtables YouTube channel is where you will find recordings of all our prior roundtables, and they're very well worth listening to. Really content-rich material that you will learn a lot from. These are the call-in instructions. We're not quite ready for call-in yet, but I will put this slide up later on in the program when we are ready for call-in. But as you're going through the session with us, please do line up your questions so that you can participate. You can, bring in your own perspectives, issues, comments, questions, etc. This is a roundtable, so we want participation, not just one-way broadcast. It needs to be a dialogue. All right. Well, today I am delighted to introduce to you Alexandre Wentzo, CEO at Casewise. And as we go through this session today, you will see why I have invited Alexandre to share his perspective and his entrepreneurial journey with you. And I'm sure you're going to be very inspired by Alexandre's story and the story of Casewise. Alexandre, welcome.
Good morning. Welcome. Thank you very much.
So let's start with some context setting. You have built a self-financed enterprise software company from London and scaled it to $24 million in annual revenue. Tell us what Casewise does.
So globally, first, Casewise is a software organization. We develop a software to help organizations run more efficiently globally, and our clients are mainly Fortune 2000. So in a simple way, Fortune 2000 organizations help our software to document their business processes, mainly to run more efficiently and to reduce the complexity of their business. And
even though the genesis of your company is in London and the initial customer base was in England and France, and we can hear the French accent in your conversation today, the bulk of your customer base today and the revenue base is in the U.S., correct?
That's correct, yes.
So what I would be interested in digging into is what are the key strategies that you've been successful with in growing the U.S. business? We have an international audience, and many of them want to do what you've done, is start a company somewhere else in some other part of the world, but they all want to come into the much faster adoption, faster growth U.S. market. So what can our audience learn from your experience?
Yes, as you mentioned, it's been a journey. We started, years ago in London. Then we did roll out our strategy back to France before going to the US. During the journey, what we have learned, or what I've learned, is every market is very different. Different maturity and different expectations from our clients. If you speak to a huge organization, doesn't matter, like L'Oreal in Paris or L'Oreal in New York, they've got very different, maturity. So what we have learned over the few years is to adapt the offering. For example, as I mentioned to you, we are a software vendor. On the last 3 years, when we have opened our offices in Los Angeles, we had to transform our business model by becoming a solution vendor. The big difference with a software vendor versus a solution is we provide also consulting services around. Why? Because our US customers want an issue to be solved. They don't want to buy a product. They don't want to buy a software. They want you to come and solve an issue. And that has been a big, big difference in our approach.
How do they find you? How do you get into an account, to a Fortune 500 or a Global 2000 account? How do you get in? How do they find you? And how do they think of you to call when they have an issue and they want it solved?
Well, that's a great question. It is true, Casewise is not Microsoft. We are a niche player, leader in our industry, but still not well known. So a couple of things. The first thing, we have leveraged our international clients from Europe. As I mentioned, you can imagine Prudential or Experian. Experian is a UK business, very well known in the US too. So we start to look to do mapping. What European customers are also based in the US, out of the Fortune 2000. So we started by the easy way to do so. And then to acquire new names in the US, we try to think, okay, who are going to be the buyer? Globally, the customer, signing the purchase order are CXO. So, I mean, CIO, CEO, or COO of this huge organization. So what I've done, I didn't want to go to the standard trade show because they're very expensive. On the offering, the competition is massive. So we started to run some sort of exclusive events, like CIO dinners. So, for example, I started last year to run one CIO dinner in LA. What I did, I asked one of my clients, CIO, to present this use case on what value he has been able to generate by using Casewise or technology. We acquired some data. We pinged all the CIOs from Fortune 2000. The first time we only had 11 people turning up, 11 CIOs. But it was good enough for us because you are talking to the decision maker straight away. From these 11 people, in less than 6 months, we closed 2 major deals, Experian in the US, NBC in Los Angeles, and we've been replicating this model, this type of event, where globally at the end of the day, our clients promote Casewise. And people, what they want to know is not who's Casewise, is what have we been able to achieve for our clients, and can we replicate?
So on that note, you are a business process management vendor. Where in the clientele that you have sold to so far, what use cases have been kind of the big use cases that you have been able to replicate in multiple places? And typically in these kinds of companies, the kind of company that you are running, the use cases are how you get into an account, right? You solve a problem for somebody, deliver great ROI, and then replicate it elsewhere. So I'm sure in your CIO dinners, these use cases come up. Can you share with us 1 or 2 use cases that have been really powerful for you?
You are right. So we've got 2 main use cases. The first one, we are talking about IT modernization. So how do we help organizations to modernize their IT system? So globally, we help them to document their technology, layers to understand what they've got, because they're complex organization, huge organization, and to move to the digital. We're talking about digital disruption. One of the excellent case study we have done in the US and California the last couple of years is we have helped one massive organization to rationalize, to reduce the number of applications they're using, and to save $250 million on their annual IT budget. So you can appreciate when you deliver this sort of return on investment, it's of course a massive quick win. And we have promoted this use case, to different CIOs. And of course, they're very interested in understanding how we have achieved that. And if we have done it once, why we wouldn't work for them and just buy, I think, the reference, the use case. And we've been able to, today we've got more than 100 clients in the US by just promoting our references.
So let's actually double-click down on this particular scenario that you're talking about. You've been successful in doing very large deals with some of your large enterprise customers, and if I recall, one of your deals is $12 million over a 3-year period. Tell us a bit more about this kind of deals and how do you explain your value proposition? How do you establish ROI? What is the process and the workflow of, getting into the account and explaining the value proposition, establishing ROI, and convincing customers to pay that much to a relatively small software company?
I mean, this is a great question. So the approach, because we are aware, as you mentioned, we are, a small player versus, the big five, Accenture, Deloitte, who can definitely help, these sort of companies. So we always promote when, to run a pilot. So we say, okay, you understood, what we can achieve. Give us a small scope. We are going to work with you to do a statement of work, and we run a pilot. And if we are successful after 3 months, then we can demonstrate, we can replicate this sort of pilot to a much higher, scale. So we never try to go straight away for the big project. We want to demonstrate the value on a small size, a clear scope, and then generalize. The project you mentioned, probably by end of 2015, is roughly $15 million revenue for Casewise in,
from one
say,
customer.
2.5 years. That's correct, on one client. And we started the pilot late 2012 in Q4 on a 3-month base for $800K. And the $800K was still already a big project for us, right?
Big. Already pretty big.
We've been successful. And to answer your question, why this sort of client spends so much money is because we can demonstrate the value. At the end of the day, you are solving an issue, and if you can demonstrate the value it means for this client, it can be priceless. A second example, despite the value, is we help organizations to become compliant because we document the processes and they can show to different regulation bodies that they are compliant. Well, for a CEO of a bank, JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, doesn't matter the name, well, they don't want to go to jail. So the fact you say, you give me, it doesn't matter, $2 million, and I can take away this issue for you, it's priceless, right? You just took the problem away, and you just let them solve the issue. I think the key message here is to find and define a clear value proposition that you can address, a problem, but a problem that, represents a serious issue for this organization.
So, Alexandre, you've been in business now for quite a while, and you're doing business both in Europe and America. How has the market in Europe changed? Obviously, you're being able to close very large deals in America, and that market is moving very nicely for you. What is happening in your, European business, that is your original business? Is that starting to grow faster? Is the European market accelerating? How does the European market dynamics look today?
Yeah, so the European market is a very interesting and complex market because we've got many countries, many cultures between the French, the Spanish, the Italian, the British. It's all different markets with different culture. So I would say, to answer your question in terms of performance, the French market has been doing extremely well. And in 2015, we have even broke our record. So we can see a trend to consolidate, sustaining our global growth in France. The south of Europe is a bit a tougher market because of the economic downturn. As you may know, Italy, Spain, Portugal have got very high unemployment, or Greece, high unemployment rate, which slowed down the process, to acquire or to invest. Even when they should invest more today to make them, more efficient or leaner, it's a big struggle. We are a small organization. We want to make sure we can sell where we get paid. It's very easy to get a project in Greece to optimize, the efficiency of a government or a company, but we want to make sure we can get paid. That, as many of you know, is not the revenue you generate, it's cash flow, what is key in our business too. So that's something we are trying to be very prudent. And our investment today is really to support the growth in North America, which is an amazing market for us, on some, very successful market like, Britain and France. On the other one, we are more careful in terms of investment.
So if a small company you know, we work with a lot of early stage businesses. If a small business wants to do what you have done, start in Europe, maybe in England or in France, and I think I'm hearing you say that they have to be careful about Southern Europe because of the default issues and so forth from a cash point of view. But is it still viable, given what's going on in Europe, given the, you know, quite slow economic situation in Europe in general? Is it still viable to start your business and get it up to a few $1 million in revenue and validation and get the customer going in the hands of, get the product going in the hands of customers actually? Is that still a valid mode of getting going with enterprise software companies?
Well, it really depends on your strategy, on your objective. If you want to grow market share or revenue or profitability, you know, and as you said, if you are a young, you know, startup, clearly cash is still an issue. You want more references. I will say for American companies to try to grow in Europe, my advice would be to start with England, because again, the culture is not.
My question is, European companies, can they start in Europe? Because, and I'll tell you why I'm asking this question, because, you know, you're talking about, you know, doing a dinner in Los Angeles with 11 CIOs. You have to get to that point, right? 11 CIOs are not going to take a meeting with a random startup unless you have reference customers and reference use cases and ROI to show them. So the question is, can startups get started in Europe, in England or France or wherever else you think is a good economy to get started in and build up those reference cases and then come to America? Is that viable?
Yeah, I mean, I do believe there is still, you know, a space in Europe, and again, you have to choose your country very carefully in Europe to start startups. I mean, we've got successful startups in Britain or in France, you know, those are part of Europe. So yes, there is a potential. There are some challenges in every country in terms of tax, you know, so you have to think carefully about which territory and what market you want to address. You know, one big difference in the European market versus worldwide is people buy from people. You know, we don't, you know, do too much, you know, web technologies, you know, go-to-meeting. On that, there's a massive potential impact on the cost. So not to underestimate the cost associated when you start a business in Europe, because you will need to hire local people. If you want to do business in England, you need to work with, you know, hire your resource from England. You won't have a French salesman being successful in England. You won't have a British guy successful in France as a salesman. So there is a few variables specific to the market, European market, not to ignore.
So your point is that you have to choose a country that is functional, that doesn't have all these like dysfunctions of banking systems and so forth, and then you need to get local people to do direct face-to-face selling for enterprise deals, and it's not going to be as easy to do online selling and get all these online abilities, online technologies to touch people and you know, market to people. It's much more of a people-to-people, in-person selling market.
You are right. I mean, I think in terms of, you know, focusing on generating revenue, that's a key criteria. But after it's really on the entrepreneur to understand what he's trying to achieve. Some territories or markets are more open to finance, you know, raise money for a young startup. And you know, the British are much more risk adverse than the French or Latin, you know, countries in Europe. So if you're an entrepreneur looking to raise some money and grow by, you know, raising the your level of debt, you know, you will have some dimension to look at also. So it's a complex mapping to put together.
So your company, on that subject, your company is self-financed. It sounds like you could have raised financing for a long time based on the metrics that you were delivering, but you chose not to. Why not?
Well, it's always first to, you know, it's like getting married. You need to make sure if you raise money, you find the right partner. And they always say the right thing, but you can't date. You know, straight away you get married and you give equity away. So Of course, if your market can be exponential and you need, resources, financial resource in a short period of time, it makes sense to bring VCs or, external investors. We had a more stable growth over the few years, and we felt we could, use our own substantial profits we used to generate every year to finance the growth. So far we have never needed external investment. I'm not saying in the future it won't happen because, it depends on the dynamic of the market. But as we say, every organization is very different. It's something to really consider. You have got good and bad money. It's not just to raise the money and give your equity. It's good and bad money.
So you discussed with me earlier that you're looking to do an M&A roll-up of sorts in your segment to accelerate your growth inorganically. So what kinds of companies are you looking to acquire? Have you acquired any? Are you going to raise private equity to finance these acquisitions? How are you thinking about this inorganic scaling phase of your growth?
Yeah, well, at least in our industry, and you're right, the market has changed. What is important for an organization like Casewise as a software vendor is to build an ecosystem, as you said, through partnership or acquisition or raising money to acquire additional, offering. Why? First, to explain, why we're looking at or why we're thinking about this is when we work with this organization or customer, they have got an issue to solve. And, technology or expertise cover probably 60 or 80% of some, use cases, and we have sometimes to partner or we have realized over the last couple of years, there are some patterns where we meet, regularly the same player or the same vendor or the same partner. Mm-hmm. So now we're thinking, well, our customer wants a solution from A to Z, so it's time to look what makes sense in terms of, having a more comprehensive solution. So we are doing our homework today, and we're trying to identify the potential target and what would make the most sense to our client.
So you haven't yet mapped the ecosystem to the extent that you have identified, like you don't have a list of 6 companies that are contenders for potential acquisitions? I'm not asking for the names of those companies. I'm just interested in learning what is your organizing principle of thinking about it.
No, yes, you're all right. We have done, of course, some homework. It's very straightforward. As you can imagine, every time you do a project with a client, you see the same vendors, the same players, so it's not too hard. The complexity is not the least of the potential, partners you may merge with is financially, business-wide, does it make sense, because some are great partners, but sometimes they're over-expensive, or sometimes their growth model or their strategy is very different from yours. So it takes a lot of due diligence work, and as you know, that's time-consuming. So we have done the homework, we've got the mapping, and we are checking our assumptions to ensure it's aligned with our global strategy.
Well, and also marrying 2 private companies on stock transactions is very complicated. The negotiations are very complicated because you have to establish a mutually agreeable valuation and who gets what. I mean, it's just not straightforward negotiation, right? Because there's no external party setting the valuation.
You're correct. It's everyone wants what we call a FMV, fair market value, and everyone has got a different perception of their own business,
Right.
In case of Casewise, I guess, because we've been running for a few years, we've been lucky enough to get quite a few regular, letter of acquisition. Sorry, just lost my light. Then we know that, we have got a good indication of how the value of our companies. But you're right, in some cases, it's more complex. People just have got unrealistic market valuation, and that makes the deal impossible.
Yeah. You can value your company, but then you have to value also the companies that you want to acquire, and they have to agree to some valuation that is reasonable.
Yeah.
And are you going to try to do these as stock transactions, or are you going to raise private equity money and do these as cash transactions, which is actually a little bit easier from this negotiation point of view?
Yeah, it would be case by case. we were more, of course, a share transaction or stock equity transaction is sort of cheaper if we agree on the right valuation, as you said, so we don't have to bring additional cash and dilute more of the value of the current shareholder. But it depends on the size of the organization we want to acquire on the value. They may be much bigger than our company, so of course we will have to bring some external parties to the game.
Table, yeah. All right, very good. Well, we'll keep following along, and I hear that you're going to stay a little bit for an entrepreneur mentoring as well. So let's get started with that phase. Folks, those of you who are going to be presenting today, I want to do a little bit of expectation setting. Just remember one thing. Everybody here is completely on your side. So we are not here to do some kind of an entertainment show. This is not Shark Tank. This is a working session where we're going to basically work on your presentations, on your strategy, whatever issues that you want to work on today, and we're going to try to help you move forward. It's the intent is to help you put one foot before the other, remove obstacles, etc. The intent is not to embarrass you or make you feel bad or make the audience laugh or feel good. It's just not what we do. We work here because we want to help you become successful. Now, if during the conversation there are points where you disagree with either my feedback or Alexandre's feedback or feedback from the audience, that's just okay. People, we're all coming from different perspectives, different experiences, and so on and so forth. So there are many ways to be successful. If you don't agree with our feedback, that's perfectly all right. I don't have any problems with that, and you shouldn't either. You can decide whether or not to take the feedback. One caveat I will put before you before we dive in is not all businesses can raise money. Raising money does not guarantee success. Not all businesses should raise money. So please do not jump to the conclusion that just because you're doing a startup, you need to immediately raise money. You just spent a half hour with Alexandre, who has just explained to you that he is already at doing $24 million worth of revenue with no financing whatsoever. He has the option of financing. He has had the option of raising financing for a long time, and he still does. And he will consider those as he shared with you, but please don't get obsessed with raising financing. That is not success. Entrepreneurship does not equal financing. Entrepreneurship equals customers, revenues, and profits. Okay, and if you're not pitching today, if you're participating in public chat, please do participate, do weigh in, do ask questions, and I will open up the line later on in the show so that you can also participate by phone. So we're going to start with Vivek Krishna, Coimbatore, Tamil Nadu, India. Vivek, if you could unmute your line and tell us what you're working on, that would be awesome. I see Vivek's line still muted. Are you on the call?
Hello, Shramana?
Yes, go ahead, Vivek.
Oh, hi, Shramana. Very good morning. How are you doing today?
Good morning. How are you? Go ahead.
I'm awesome. Yes. So I'm Vivek. I'm from India, and I was an early employee for a funded big data startup. I was working for a startup in New York City. I moved back to India a couple of years ago to do my startup, and I am a budding musician as well. In the meantime, I'm trying to build my own startup. Could you move to the next slide, please? Yeah. So Augrove is the brand that we are creating. AU stands for the chemical formula for gold, and Grav is to make or to engrave. So we call ourselves a personalized jewelry brand. Could you move to the next slide, please? Oh, thanks. Yeah. So let me start with a very nice testimonial that we received from one of our clients. That's such a nice testimonial, I just wanted to read it loud, but I'll just skim through the last 4 lines for the lack of time. So if you see the last 4 lines, every now and then when I see the ring, I just feel what it has to say to me, you're incomplete without her. And then Augrove deserves the right credits and blah, blah, blah. So based on the last 2 slides, you would have felt that this is more like a jewelry company. But I have a different story to share. So we believe we are in the business of creating happiness to the customers. And how do we do that? We create happiness by making them feel really unique. And how do we make them feel unique? We take any of the personal elements, like say their name, their voice, their face, their pictures, their fingerprints, and make jewelry out of them. So it's similar to how you upload a picture on Facebook and people yearn for like 500,000 likes, right? So we want our customers to have a similar kind of feeling when they review our products. They literally flaunt these products amongst their friends and relatives, and then they yearn for like real world likes. And that's a very nice feeling, and that's the feeling. That feeling is what this business is completely based on. And we believe all the 7 billion people on Earth should have that kind of a feeling. So that's what this entire business is based on. Okay. And to start with, our target customers are like young adults who are like getting married or engaged. And then we are totally on the gifting space where people want to buy really unique gifts and present it to their loved ones and stuff. We also cater to the B2B retailers all over India and who actually serve similar kind of customers. Next slide, please. So the real pain point here is that making personalized or customized jewelry is actually time consuming and it is really hard. And it's even harder to distribute these kind of products to the retailers because these are like personal ones that contain some of the other elements of the customer, and these cannot be stocked in a tray or something. So that becomes a pain point, and that's where we actually enter. So the entire process still remains the same, but what we do is we have optimized the time to manufacture. Like for example, if a customer wants a new product to be designed, we automate the design process, not completely automation, but a semi-automation kind of thing that actually reduces the time to manufacture. So that's what we are focusing on. Okay, and the customer acquisition. So we haven't really spent a lot of money on marketing. We have been doing organic marketing. We get creative on like coming up with the keywords and attracting the customers. We write about creative content, which our target audiences really like and stuff. And we do like organic PR activities. I request you guys to go and check the website. Most of the products are like completely new, and that's the reason we get a lot of good press all over India. We have been covered by almost all national papers in India. The previous one, please. Sorry, the previous slide, please. Yeah, and we have planned to do some more paid campaigns as well as and when we grow. Okay, and the next slide, yes. With just 1 year of operation, we have clocked almost like 100K USD in sales, and we are already starting to see repeat customers. We are targeting a pan-India market, but we still manage to get a small percentage of visitors from Singapore, Dubai, and USA. Right.
And what is the profitability of your business to generate this 100K USD? What is the burn rate of the company?
So we don't spend a lot. We have just the major expense right now is on the human resource. We are a team of 5, and I'm the senior most, and all of them are like junior employees. But everyone is like smart in their own work. So we have a team. One guy for marketing, one guy is a designer, the other guy is the programmer, and one girl takes care of the sales.
So you're already profitable?
We are pretty lean. No, we will be profitable very, very soon.
Okay, fantastic.
All right. Yeah, and just to give an idea of the size of the market that we're talking about, the jewelry industry in India is really, really huge. It's like $60–70 billion right now, and in just 5 years, it's going to touch like $110 billion. I'm not saying all this is our target market, but I just want to show you the amount of growth this kind of a category has. We really think we are in the right space and on the right time. And from a lot of research and our communication with a lot of other jewelry retailers, we hear 20% of the typical retail sales are lost because of the customized orders, because they're unable to take the customized orders. And we want to enter this space. If you had known, there is no such thing as a brand for personalized products, and we are one of the pioneers in this. And it is possible because we have automated a small number of things, and we believe there's a very huge potential in this space. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Next one. Yeah. Our business model is we don't manufacture anything. We work with a lot of freelancers to get a lot of designs, and we actually embed our personal elements in it. So not all products are like very difficult to manufacture. Some products might need just names to be engraved on that. Those still fall under the personalized category, right? And we work with a lot of small-scale jewelry manufacturers. We also work with medium-scale jewelry manufacturers. So we are building a marketplace kind of thing, but not really a marketplace. I wouldn't call that a marketplace, but similar to a marketplace. And I live in a location called as Coimbatore. This is like the gold valley of India. I mean, it's like one of the major manufacturing hubs of gold jewelry. And on the demand side, we reach the customers online, and we also have a B2B mobile app, which we distribute to the retailers. We are still experimenting with this model, and we are able to generate a few amount of sales to the B2B retail shops as well. However, the margins in B2B is like much smaller than the actual this one, the online sales. Yeah. So my questions to you, Shramana, would be like, how do we grow this business? So if you could connect me to any of the jewelry retailers anywhere in the world that you know of, that would be really helpful for us. And we also need, I've been in this space for almost 1-2 years now. I've been trying to figure out, experiment with a lot of business models, and ideas. And I still feel if there was a mentor in this particular industry with specific knowledge in this particular domain, that will be helpful for us to avoid mistakes. And I don't want to lose 1 more year just experimenting something and then figure out it doesn't work out.
So Vivek, my first comment to you is that there are such, e-commerce business practices that are practices that will help you scale. And that just kind of following those methodologies are good practices in terms of business building. Jewelry specific, there are a couple of case studies that have been very successful. From India, Carat Lane has been very successful. We have a very good relationship with that company, and it's grown nicely. And the one before that, the one that Carat Lane was modeled after, was Blue Nile out of Seattle, which also did very, very well. Both of them, though, are more diamond focused. You're more gold and custom. So it's a little bit of a different business, but yeah.
Okay, I'll let you complete. Sorry.
So there are nuances to the jewelry business, but I think my sense is the most important thing that you need to learn is how to scale an e-commerce business.
Okay, got it. Yeah, we know about Carat Lane and Blue Nile. It's not that we don't do diamonds, we do diamonds as well, but we don't explicitly say that we do diamonds. We want to be a niche in the personalized segment, because we do all kinds of metals, like say silver and stuff that has the personalization elements in it. But the point is noted. I mean, you were saying that I have to learn about the scaling practices and stuff. And would you recommend any leads on that? I mean, would you?
And if you hang on, I will talk later about how to use 1 million by 1 million. So that would be my guidance would be to use 1 million by 1 million to learn to scale. But before we go there, I want to first get some input from Alexandre on what do you think of this presentation, Alexandre?
Well, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, I like the comment to say, we can ship all around the world. But first, one of my questions will be on comment is, what is, how do you differentiate yourself, right? Because, many people do jewel, around the world. So why do you feel the market will be responsive on buying your product versus someone else? That would be first one of my questions, if you don't mind.
Vivek, you want to take
Sure, Alex. I mean, that's a very interesting question, and that was the first thing that we were actually seeking answers for as well. So if you actually get time to look at our website, you'd see most of the products that we make can't be easily made or replicated by most of our other competitors. Because in fact, we are working with the competitors to sell our products with them. So that is the kind of technical difficulty that these kind of products have, because we have a very good expertise in the design, and that really differentiates. And also, as mentioned to you earlier, we are working on the semi-automated designing process. So any product that we want to make, we can get it done in like 7 to 10 days, and within 12 days, we can reach anywhere in the world. But I don't think any other company would be able to promise you to do this.
So Vivek, just to comment on your answer to Alex's question, I don't think you can make that claim that people cannot, there is a tremendous amount of design skill available around the world. But the thing that you will not, perhaps you are differentiating on is doing custom jewelry at a very affordable price point. Maybe that's what your differentiator is. And I haven't looked at your website, and I haven't, studied your designs and so forth, whether that's, or your cost structure to make sure that positioning can be defended. But you do need, what Alex is pointing you to is that you do need a positioning that is going to let you stand out against all these, when you're being evaluated against all these various jewelers around the world. Okay, well, very good, Vivek. We're going to have to move on to the next presenter. If you hang on, we will spend more time later on in the show giving you pointers on how to use the one-on-one program.
Absolutely. Okay. Thanks, Ramana.
You're very welcome. Danish Samani, how do you say Danish? Danish, how do you say your name?
Hi, it's Danish. It's a Persian
Danish,
word.
okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Danish.
Is my voice clear?
Yep, we can hear you.
Awesome. So our product is called Stay It's you can practice public speaking in virtual reality. Next slide, please.
Okay.
And I'm Danish, a third-year mechanical engineering student at Drexel University. And next slide shows my co-founder, Paritosh, and he's a computer scientist at Drexel University. And together we came up with this idea of allowing others to practice public speaking in virtual reality. And in our team, we have 2 other students who are computer science, and we have also a speech anxiety doctoral student, and working alongside with a speech coach, internationally renowned speech coach, to help us build this product. And that photo shows exactly how I used to be like 5 years ago. My sweat pores would open up before a speech. I would be shivering. My heart would throb out, fill my throat. At just even before going on stage, these are the symptoms I would feel. And looking into more research, that it has been proven that around 70% of the world's population fears public speaking. And that's actually the top fear in the world. Forget cockroaches, forget snakes, forget spiders. This is the top fear in the world. Some people said they would actually rather die than come up and be stared at by hundreds of people. And looking at this problem, I realized that, but at the end of the day, public speaking is part of our everyday lives. We need to move forward. Our career requires us to speak. College requires us to speak. Even you have to speak in different occasions. And that is a problem we saw. Building upon that, we came up, just back to the problem slide, we found out that as you climb the corporate ladder, it gets really narrow at the top. And one of our mentors told us that it's very hard to differentiate one candidate from the other because everyone has a 4- or 5-page resume. Everyone has worked at Fortune 500 companies. And the thing that makes others stand out is either who you know, or second is how effectively can you present yourself. How effectively can you present your experiences, your skill sets in an interview, and even hold the audience's attention. And so, talking with some senior level executives, they told us that in order to tackle that problem, they either hire a speech coach to train them to speak better or have done media training, things for which cost around thousands of dollars. So I asked them, what kind of feedback are you looking for if you're paying thousands of dollars in terms of speech coaching? And they said, we would like to know how my delivery was, how fast I was speaking, what was my pitch and tone, was I modulating my voice, was I using and filler words in my speech, and I also want to know my body movement, was I looking around in the audience, and my hand movement. And I said, what if we could put all those features in an app that you could practice with anywhere, anytime? And these guys were like, here, take my business card, give me a call when this app is ready. I want to be your guinea pig. So we moved on. We spoke to a few speech coaches, and we asked them, what kind of feedback are you giving to your clients that they're willing to pay you thousands of dollars? And they told us the same thing. We tell them about the delivery. We tell them about their pitch and tone. We tell them about how fast they spoke, their use of filler words, and also their body language and their visual appearance. And I asked them, what if we could put all that into an app that you could give to your clients as a value-added service? And they said, yeah, we deal with big clients who would not mind paying an extra few $1,000s for such a service, something that they could start practicing with before coming to me so that my and their time is spent more effectively. And from there, we move forward to build something that is a platform where users can practice in VR. And that is our selling point. Our secret sauce is allowing users to practice in virtual reality. And just like in the photo in the previous slide, you will see how a user would see if they put on a Google Cardboard or an Oculus Rift. They would see a stage in front of them. They would have their slideshow. And in those seats, we are hoping to have audience members seated. Just like how you play Guitar Hero, if you've hit the right keys, your audience cheers you. But if you miss the keys, the audience goes boo. And similarly, if your delivery is powerful, where you're giving the right pauses, where you are having a proper voice modulation, the audience will get engaged in your delivery. On the other hand, if you're giving a monotonous speech where your volume is not high enough, using too many uhs, we can make the audience dynamic to react in such a way that they would feel fidgety, they would remove their smartphones, they would look around, things like that, to give them active feedback on the delivery. But once the delivery is done, they would come on to the web app. On our website, you would go to the dashboard where you would get a holistic feedback of what your speech was. So practicing is one aspect. The second aspect would be actually coming back and reviewing what was your speech. You would get a transcript on our dashboard where you would be able to review, okay, I said filler words in this situation. I used too many pauses. I spoke at a very high speed rate.
So Danish, I think we understand the concept. Let's go to your questions.
And that's some sort of a pricing model we have established where we would target businesses, small scale, medium scale, and enterprise level businesses. Next slide, please. One thing we're hoping now is that we are almost at an MVP, which should be ready for user testing within 1 month. And this is how we are hoping, but we're not sure whether do we just develop something, keep it in the hands of the user, come back, develop it, and then try again and again this routine of improvement of your MVP. That is one thing I'm unsure of, but that's what I thought. And then the next slide, please. This is how our competitive landscape looks, where users can either audio record themselves and hear them, which is on demand, or they can hire speech coaches, which might not be on demand, but it gives you a personalized speech experience. So what we're trying to do is actually quantify that qualitative judgment of whether what was a good speech. And our last slide shows us where we are. And we wanted to hear from you and other people how we can move forward. What is the right ways of building a team at this stage where we are validating the market, and what kind of features should we have? Should we go overboard or just focus on a few sets of features? And that's
so, Danish, my impression is that if you already have a prototype and you have 4 people on the team already, right?
Yeah.
So that's a good point to start working with small groups of users and start refining the prototype and the product. So you need a strategy, a validation strategy of getting us, like a beta product out there in the hands of customers, and ideally customers who are willing to pay if they interact with you, if they like it and are going to be willing to pay. So I think the thing that we need to do is figure out where to position this product so that you can go get the first set of those kinds of users and then organically grow that. Let's say start with 100 users, then 500 users and so forth, but with the intent that these are all going to become paying users. So my sense is we're going to need to position the product and run several validation cycles and kind of product refinement cycles before bringing it out into the market. And we can, step you through all that.
Okay.
Let me get some feedback from Alexandre. What are your thoughts?
I was just going to say that, we work in software, and you're right, when we launch a new product, as you said, we've got a prototype on the list of assumption, and we're going to test, to our targeted client to see for, the requirements we thought were right, work out for them on what the valuable. As you say, the iteration, I don't think you should invest much more in product development, just test it. And as you mentioned very clearly, get a few beta clients if you can, because that give you, feedback, operational feedback on, around UX, around performance. And then I think, there is a guy I was advised in software called Clayton. He's from Harvard Business School, and he writes a lot around disruptive innovation, which he says, of course, the technology is one thing, but the business model, I know you put some pricing model earlier, which I can't, advise. I'm not in your industry. But when you're a small startup like yours, I would say, think about the reverse income statement. What it means is how much is it going to cost your application to be developed, right? And how much minimum profit you need to make every time you sell it, because then you can see if your model first makes sense, and then is it disruptive on the market? So despite the technology, can you, acquire market share by your approach, because you'll be very, innovative in the way. That's my 2 cents.
And I think that's a valid point, that in that process of the beta cycles, you do multiple rounds of beta cycles, you're not only validating and not only iterating on the product features and functions and the usability, but you're also iterating on your pricing model, on your business model, on your pricing model, and learning how to arrive at something that can be broadly accepted by the market.
I see. So as a startup, you should not just focus on the product dev, but also on the business side simultaneously?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I also wanted to hear your experiences in practicing public speaking, because you guys do a lot of presentations to large audiences. How do you practice?
I don't practice. I don't practice at all. But that's probably unusual. I don't. I'm very natural in front of the camera or in front of microphones, so I don't practice at all.
Okay.
I'm not a good. I'm not a good beta client for you, actually.
In our company, we've got a lot of, IT people that, we want them to speak at keynote, presentation. The video mode helps us a lot. Because, the fact you can see your body, gesture at the same time, as you said, of the speed of elocution on what you may do by mistake is very important. So we ask them to train, we record the session, so after they can watch themselves, from, we give them some advice, but even looking at yourself is a horrible exercise. You say, oh my God, I'm always touching my ear, or I'm always, doing that, or I'm talking too quickly, or I'm looking too much at the screen. So I think, I think your idea is good, and I could see a lot of usage even in an organization like mine.
Yeah. So maybe, Danish, maybe you want to connect with Alexandre and see if his organization is willing to pilot your product.
I would love that. Thank you.
I don't want to put anybody on the spot. I don't want to put Alexandre or Danish on the spot.
The pressure.
All right.
Thank you so much for the feedback.
You're very welcome. Okay, we have Arjun Sarin next from New Delhi, India. Arjun?
Hello? Yeah, am I audible?
Sir. Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, hi. My product, so I do a day job in the morning and I'm working on a product. I come back after my job and I then work on my product, which is called NetZap.
We like that. We like that, the bootstrapping with the paycheck model very much.
Okay, so our tagline is we want to make informed decision making for healthy living, and my high level pitch is that we have made an Instagram of medical records. So what happens on our app is you just click a photograph of your medical record, you add it to, you tag it to certain keywords, and you upload it on the cloud. But unlike Instagram, where picture flows into a network, our picture, the record in our app flows to a private cloud. Now, what we intend to do through this is that this is a source of primary data. We're collecting primary data out of it, and then what we want to do is hyper-target users with products and services which are according to the keywords that the user uploads for each record. So let's say that you are a user who goes in for a diabetes test every 4 months. I would like to target you with product. First of all, I would like to share information with you on how you can cure your disease, how you can cure your problem, and then target with you with products and services which may be helpful to you. Now, can you go to the next slide, please? Hello? Yeah.
Yes.
So for our customer acquisition, what I did was I talked to a lab which has 10 centers across India, and I asked them that if you can just place a sticker on each record that you give, so that the user may have right in front of him the information about my app, and the record that he has to upload is right in front of him. He can immediately take the action. However, we haven't been much successful with this because that lab has not been able to put our stickers on the appropriate records, and it has quite failed. The second thing that we tried was that I'm trying right now, and which is getting me traction, is writing about my app and publishing it to public blogs, through which we have acquired about 500 users, and out of which 100 are I have about 100 active users on my portal who are uploading the records, and yeah, that is about it. So I have got 2 questions.
All right.
Yeah, please. So
what are your questions?
Okay, so my question is, when do you think would be a right time to commercialize the product, that is, put in the affiliate marketing part into this? Second thing would be, since I'm working on it part-time, when do you think would be a good time to start working on it full-time, so that whatever feedback that I collect from the customers, those can be, whatever feedback I collect from the customers, I can feed into the product and iterate the product to make it according to what the customer wants.
You know, Arjun, I am not clear on what business you're trying to do, and it seems like you are not quite clear on what business you're trying to do either. This presentation is not a particularly compelling presentation, so you're going to need to learn to, and maybe somewhere in your head there is a clearer concept of exactly what you're trying to do, how you're going to do it, but you're going to need to learn how to crystallize that and present that, and the kinds of questions that you need to answer. In fact, I can actually point you to our self-assessment questionnaire. Maureen, could you please put the self-assessment link from the website? I would like to know, what is the value proposition, who is the customer, and who is paying? What is the monetization model of this business? So you're asking what is the right time to commercialize the product. I am asking something more basic. What is the commercialization model? What is the to me, commercialization is that somebody is willing to pay for this product. So what is that model?
See, there will be no direct commercialization. I don't want to stop the customer from uploading his records. Where I want to bring in commercialization would be that I would be getting into affiliate marketing, wherein I will target customers with the products and services in the medical domain that they need. So the thing is that we also collect data about how much the customer spends upon each of his doctor or lab visit. Now what I would be doing is I would be targeting them with health insurance plans. That these are the plans which can help you save money.
So if you are trying to build an affiliate business take a while to scale. My take would be you should not quit your company, your current day job anytime soon. And affiliate businesses are very easy to build with nights and weekends kind of working models. So you don't need to quit your job anytime soon. I would just kind of put one foot before the other and start building the business. There are numerous nuances to building an affiliate business, and I'll be happy to help you with those, but I don't think you should quit your job anytime soon until this product you've figured out the revenue sources of this product and the revenue clips and so forth. There are lots of optimizations that need to happen to make an affiliate business work, but I see no reason to quit your job anytime soon until this business is rolling completely.
Okay, all right, fine.
But I would like you to start figuring out how you're going to make money with that affiliate model as soon as possible. So the answer to your first question, when is the right time to commercialize your product? If you call commercialization starting to make affiliate revenue, the answer is immediately. And the question is, when should you quit your job? The answer is not anytime soon.
All right, yeah, fine.
Okay.
I think this answers, yeah.
Good. Niranjan, you're up next.
Hey, Sumana, hi.
Hello.
Able to hear me? Hello.
Yeah.
Sumana, at the outset, let me thank you for giving this opportunity. This is my first pitching call, so I'm not sure whether I'm able to do it justice to my presentation. But let me just give you a brief about who am I. I'm an engineering graduate, worked with as a freelancer while I was pursuing my engineering, and with that exposure, got into recruitment with one of the companies. And the major challenge what I was seeing with seeing with the audience is, again, as Danny said, it was all about the communication part. Even though they had students had great marks on their great percentages, but the only problem what they had was the attitude problem. So I worked with a company called as Google, as a recruiter. My parent company was something else. I worked with Google as a recruiter, and I was facing a lot of challenges in listening to students where they had great percentages, but at the end of the day, they were not able to present themselves. That is where the idea of career conduit got into the picture. Career conduit is something very much a niche, very much a service-based industry, which is almost an 8-year-old industry, which is basically concentrating on the recruitment training, making the student understand the importance of how to present themselves. It's all about how well they are able to present, and it's all about how to define that attitude. But before starting off with this career conduit, I had a very short, short presentation or short training program with one of the company called as Dr. Reddy's, which is into psychology. So I used their psychology tool, psychometric analysis, and the SWOT analysis. So fine, I'm able to do a change. I was able to bring a change in the students, basically not in the urban areas, but in the rural areas. So that is where my major services are the campus recruitment training, where I say that a strategic training program, and the corporate training. When I say corporate training, I generally take up the sales training and all that stuff with respect to the corporate, and the induction training programs. And the technical training, yes, I have a team of people who actually take up this technical training, where we are professionals with respect to C, C++, Java, any technical course on the side. Yes, we have the expertise. And the major challenge is what we are facing is, can we go to the next slide? Yeah, there are good number of colleges, almost 4,000 plus engineering colleges all over India. So it is a very great market for us. But at the end of the day, I'm able to only confine myself to 40 plus, or maybe, if at all I need to give you a number, it's only 43 engineering colleges which I have done till date. So my major question is how to scale up that module to reach at least 2 different colleges. But at the end of the day, I should not boost myself, but whenever we deliver the training program or whenever I take a position, every college wants Niranjan to be a part of the training program, and I'm not a demigod to be present in all the engineering colleges at the same time. So my major challenge is this: I'm not able to scale up this module to the other colleges. At the same time, like I had a major setback very recently, say 2 years back, where one of the trainers, like I just posted the same thing on the presentation also, where one of the trainer actually backstabbed the whole process. And he was approaching the clients where we have delivered the training program, and like that is where the trust factor came into the picture, and I was not able to cope up with the situation. And it's like 1 year I was just going down the lane. Okay, so my major challenge is how exactly am I like scale up the module for the next. The biggest challenge is the second point, where the competitive pricing. My like previously, when I started my process, I used to charge, if it was like like in the Indian rupees, I used to charge somewhere around 8,000 rupees per day for 6 hours of module. That was the initial charges where, as a fresher, I was doing that. But down the lane, with almost 8 years, now the colleges are not ready to pay that amount because the competitor is giving the same kind of service, but at a very competitive price, at a throwaway price. So my major challenge is that the competitive pricing, and that is where I'm losing few of the clients. When I say few of the clients, yes, the top-notch clients. So that is one of the bigger challenge. And the second challenge is the first fact, the lack of funding. Like most of the companies, where like most of the competitive companies have this fund of like funding, create the e-modules, e-learning modules, which will actually help the student. But at the end of the day, I strongly believe in a mentorship, where a person should be physically present to give him the right information and the right guidance. But these e-modules is something like, it has become a very fancy thing in the market, and most of the colleges are looking out for that e-modules and all that stuff. That is where I'm losing my client base. Okay.
So Niranjan,
the competitive pricing. Yes, ma'am.
Unfortunately, I don't share your belief that you need to be present in person to do mentoring. So I will not be able to reinforce that point of view at all. We've been running 1 million by 1 million. It is one of the most acclaimed mentoring services in the world, and we've been running it for the last 5 years, and we do it 100% virtually, and it's one of the highest quality mentoring.
Like, I appreciate your thought process, madam, but when I'm saying like mentoring, I'm talking about the young blood who are very raw in thinking. So in order to make them understand how they need to think, how they need to present themselves, I strongly somehow feel that yes, someone should be there to guide them, rather than the virtual.
I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that at all. In fact, I would encourage you to study how 1 million by 1 million works in detail to understand how a successful mentoring program, online mentoring program works.
Okay.
So I think, you know, first and foremost, for me to be able to guide you, I need you to change your mental model. Your mental model is a flawed mental model, in my opinion, because, you know, we have proof that that is not a correct assumption. So you need to first and foremost change that mental model, and then once you have accomplished the changing of that mental model, then we can work further with you to guide you further in the direction of stuff that work and stuff that are scalable. But your current mental model basically limits you and will never allow you to scale.
Yes, fine, thank you. I'll surely work on it.
Excellent.
And
so I will spend time now actually explaining to you how 1 million by 1 million works and how you can use the resources. We will have more time for Q&A. I think we have finished all the presentations, and we'll be opening up the line shortly for Q&A, so we can have many more discussions before the end of the session. So let's go there.
Sure.
So if you like, folks, what we are doing here in 1 million by 1 million, please bring 10 serious entrepreneurs into 1M1M. And the word serious is in, caps for a reason. We need people who are willing to spend multiple years of their lives, really slogging at building a business. And it takes several years to build a company, and it's not an overnight thing. It's not something that it's not a fly-by-night kind of process. You really have to work hard. And we are looking for those entrepreneurs who have realistic expectations and abilities to work with, with a methodology and really, build a business piece by piece, block by block, brick by brick. In terms of resources, you'll find everything at 1mby1m.com. The Entrepreneur Journeys book series and our blog are the next layer of resources that you would potentially find useful. The blog is free. It's very rich in content, and a lot of people learn just by following the blog. The Entrepreneur Journeys book series is available. All 12 volumes of it are available on Amazon Kindle. And you can double-click down on some of these topics. Like, many of you need to learn positioning. Many of you need to learn bootstrapping with a paycheck. A lot of people are bootstrapping with a paycheck. And even today, we've had an entrepreneur who is bootstrapping with a paycheck, Arjun. So these are, kind of nuances of the entrepreneurial journey that you need to really master. And these are books that will get you started in the 1M1M philosophy, methodology, and so forth. And then there is the, significant amount of resources that the program itself offers. You will have these roundtables available to you every week. Today is the 297th session. At the end of the month, we're going to be celebrating a milestone, which is our 300th session. You can essentially book your slot to pitch or attend at the free public roundtable page on the website. Then we have the premium program that offers you extensive methodology guidance, step by step. We basically step you through the process of building a business. We have a curriculum, an online curriculum that helps you learn the building blocks and the methodology elements. We also have private roundtables like these as part of the premium program, where you come and discuss your projects, your strategy, etc. with me. We help you with business development. We help you with financing and media relations. So the program, the premium program, costs a $1,000 annual membership fee, and you have unlimited access to the entire program. The $1 Million Club is a link on the website where you'll find case studies of successful 1M1M members. The ROI equation is also presented on our homepage. It's $375,000 plus 5 to 10% equity worth of value for just $1,000 annual membership fee. And that is we are essentially executing on the philosophy of democratizing online mentoring and acceleration, incubation, education of entrepreneurs. The pricing is by design to make it affordable for as many people all over the world. The 1M1M self-assessment is something that I would like each of you to kind of take your business through so that you can ask the right questions of yourselves. And where you have knowledge gaps, there's a lot of curriculum modules that have been linked to from the self-assessment page. If you decide that you have, as you go through these questions, if you realize that you have knowledge gaps, you can plug those knowledge gaps by going and just signing up for the 1M1M basic offer, which is curriculum only. Maureen, could you put the 1M1M basic link onto the public chat, please? If you click on this 1M1M basic link that Maureen just shared with you, you will see that we've just introduced a monthly subscription to the curriculum, and this is one way you can plug your knowledge gaps very quickly. We got a lot of requests from the community to access the curriculum and learn methodology without committing to the full $1,000 premium program, and that's why we've introduced 1M1M Basic recently. So feel free to take a look at that and use that as your, blueprint, essentially. So dig around on the website. We have tons of information, video FAQs, regular FAQs on all the programs. And by the way, the curriculum is taught in case studies and video lectures. We've had over 700 successful entrepreneurs participate in our case study program. And Alexandre, whom you met today, is one of them. Arjun, yes, Alexandre has left. He has another meeting. So people like that have come and shared their journeys, their lessons from the trenches, and we have a very powerful curriculum that we've developed based on this massive body of information and experiences of successful entrepreneurs that is working really well. The curriculum has now been in the market for 5 years, and we've trained numerous entrepreneurs on it. So we know it works. Feel free to take advantage of it and get yourselves to the next level in terms of your knowledge. Our methodology is and will always be lean, capital-efficient, bootstrap startups. And the reason is that this is your passport to funding if you want funding, and this is your passport to success if your company does not quite fit the funding model, the venture capital funding model. You can build a startup, build a business all the way without any external financing. We just showed you the experience of Alexandre, which is, they're currently at $24 million with no funding. And then we've also got tons and tons and tons of case studies of entrepreneurs who have built heavily funded companies. But the most powerful way to do that is bootstrap first and then raise money later. That is our finding from all our research, and we want to steer you in that direction. That's pretty much it. You can use our, massive footprint on media and social media to get the word out about your programs. As part of the premium program, we offer you tons of PR and channel leverage. If you're trying to build an entrepreneurship program somewhere in the world, wherever it is, happy to partner with you as an affiliate partner. Upcoming free roundtables this month, every Thursday still, leading up to the 300th on March 31st. And if you're still in the ideation phase and if you're working on an emerging market, then Vision India 2020 is a great ideation book that you can look at. Incubator in a Box is our program that we use with corporations and governments and so forth to incubate their communities of entrepreneurs and intrapreneurs. Currently, we have a new session that just launched this week at Oracle. We are going to be bringing in more Oracle intrapreneurs. So if you're from Oracle, welcome. Hope you're getting to know the program and hope you're going to be applying for that scholarship from Oracle into the one-on-one program. That's pretty much it. We can go into Q&A. You can dial into the conference line. I've put the slide up with the information. You can also ask questions in public chat. You can introduce yourselves. This is a great time to network as well. And I am very interested in hearing what's going on in your head right now. What kinds of questions are you thinking about? What kinds of issues do you want to discuss further today? Vivek is asking how to hire the best of talents in a bootstrap mode. We need great people, and great people are expensive. Thoughts on this, Romana? Vivek, our philosophy on the bootstrapping phase and hiring is that you need to have a core team of very, very good people who are willing to roll up their sleeves and do all kinds of things and not really increase your burn rate too much. So in that mode, you need to get to validation, you need to get to a good understanding of how you're going to make money and hopefully get to revenue and so forth before you start adding a lot of burn rate to that. And grow organically, as you start to make money, then you can hire more people, but don't load up your P&L with too many people that you have to pay big salaries to, because that really inhibits your ability to bootstrap a company. Bootstrapping, one of the big successes of bootstrapping, success strategies of bootstrapping is to be very lean and mean. You have to be very tight, very focused, laser sharp focus, and really execute on a very precisely prioritized list of items. And that's why we've given you the curriculum with which you can really prioritize and understand what are the top things that you need to do. And that's one of the things we do constantly at the roundtables, at the private roundtables, is prioritize people's next steps. So you come and discuss something this week at a roundtable and go back with a set of priorities of what you need to do next. Does that answer your question, Vivek? Anybody else? Any other questions, comments? Niranjan, I strongly recommend that you study exactly how 1M works and even get to know the program, because this could be your model. This is the kind of mentoring in your particular segment of career and so forth. You could replicate a model like this and develop your practice. And that is a scalable model. Vivek is asking, leads to case studies and people who have built customized products, e-commerce companies, tailoring businesses, customized products. Would you be able to connect me to someone? We have tons of these case studies in the curriculum. So Vivek, you should get started with the program, and absolutely I can point you to tons of these case studies. And we do have customized e-commerce business case studies as well. We know the space very, very well. E-commerce is something we've developed a very powerful methodology around. And I actually do believe in custom e-commerce businesses. We have other people in the program that are developing custom e-commerce businesses as well. Anyone else? Any other questions, comments? Niranjan, your question is how much do you support franchise model with service industry? The problem with franchises is quality control. So, unless there is something that you can really protect the IP around, it's hard to do franchises, especially in training. There are other kinds of areas where, for instance, NIIT had done a very, very good franchise model business, right? There are successes, but I think the kind of stuff that you're trying to do is going to be much harder to franchise. Like, I would never franchise 1 million by 1 million. I've been asked by many, many, many people, why don't you franchise 1 million by 1 million? I'm like, because I can't control quality. This is too sophisticated. What we do is too sophisticated, too complex to be able to do quality control on a franchise. Anybody else? Very serious issue, yep. By the way, you are sending me messages privately. Don't send me messages privately. Try to send the messages, chat messages to all participants so that everybody can read your questions and comments so that we can all participate. This is a roundtable. And while you're doing that, let me also introduce you to Irina Patterson. If you have questions about the 1M program, if you're trying to decide between basic and premium, if you're trying to understand the nuances of the program, please talk to Irina. She'll be very happy to walk you through the two programs and answer all your questions. And she's very, very patient. Anybody else? Questions, comments? Anything else that you want to discuss? All right, folks, if we are done, then we will see you back here next week, and we'll continue the conversation. Those of you who have, who are ready to take a pitch, do a pitch next time, feel free to schedule. And Okay, I have a couple of more questions here. Vivek Krishna is requesting all of you guys to look at ogograph.com. I love what you're doing, Vivek. I think it's a great idea. Arjun Sareen is asking on quality control, where quality depends on human resources. I have a question. It is not difficult to build a scalable business. I'm not sure what your point is, Arjun. There are tons of quality, human resource-oriented businesses. The Indian outsourcing industry, soup to nuts, is a human resource-oriented business where quality control is required. So your point is correct, I think. All right, folks, we'll say goodbye for today, and we'll see you back here next week. And good luck with all your projects. Bye-bye, everybody. Thanks for coming.